Welcome back to the show, everybody. Reminder where I go into all things sales and fitness and dive as deep as I can to just learn the principles. And today on this podcast, it's a solo podcast, so it's just going to be me. And I really wanted to hit on something that's been on my mind this last week like crazy. And it's this concept, the 3 feet from gold. And I don't know if you guys have read the book or heard the story, but I'll sum it up for you guys so you understand where I'm coming from. Essentially, there was this guy that was digging for gold back in the day, and he, dug for like a year, I believe, and, wasn't able to get to the gold that he wanted. And so he sold the land where he was digging for a super, I guess, a cheap deal, right, to the next guy. And the crazy thing is the person that bought it was like, oh, wow, this guy was actually 3 feet from getting to the gold because he measured things out. He hired a team to figure out what was going on. And at the end of the day, he was so dang close, but just didn't know how close he was to that gold. And I think about that story all the time in my life because sometimes I want to give up, or I want to go down another path, or I want to start something different. And I remind myself that what if I was so close to getting to the gold? And whatever the gold may be, that could be with your fitness, getting to a certain body fat or lifting a certain amount of weight. That could be in sales. You finally reach the pinnacle. You finally make 20, 30, 40, 50K a month, whatever the case may be, whatever that goal is to you, right? Or you become a better dad, or whatever the case may be. And I've been thinking a lot about it because this last week I've been going through a dip. I've been going through a time where I feel like I'm doing worse. I feel like, the things that I'm trying to achieve in my sales has been going the wrong direction almost. And it's crazy how close you can get mentally to thinking that everything you're doing isn't working. You just want to trash everything and start over or jump to the next thing. And it's a great reminder this last week that I've had. It was just a terrible week. It was hard. Got told no, like over and over again. And it felt like I was going backwards. And it felt like, I don't know if you guys have ever felt this where you're like, man, I've been working so hard for so long, but then all of a sudden you go through this huge dip where you feel like everything's crashing down and all the work you've been doing is essentially for nothing. That's just how it feels at times. But the thing that's gotten me through is this concept of, if you would have kept pushing, would you have finally hit the gold? Is this where you're being tested? Is this the test of your faith to see if you're willing to go past this point to finally hit the gold? And I want to find that out. I want to know that I kept pushing to find the gold. I refuse to live in this world where you just settle and say, oh, I'm just meant to be average, or I'm just meant to be okay, or, this just isn't for me, right? These are the things that creep in. And I've had those thoughts creep in like crazy this last week. And I want you guys to know that if you're going through that dip, if you're going through the hard reality check, or I call it the tax that's going to be taxed upon you to get to this next level, or the trial of your faith, man, you're so close to getting out of it. You just got to face it head on. You got to be, at least I remind myself that I got to be stoic. I can't be too high or too low. If things are going good or things are going bad, you can't get too high or too low. I mean, for me, I've just had to take an audit on myself. And yes, I have these goals. Yes, it's a new year. Yes, I want to make all these things happen. But the proof is going to come from, did I continue to do the work necessary to get there? Or did the struggle filter me out so that somebody else can get the gold? Just like in the analogy, he sold his land for super cheap. Somebody else came in and got the gold because he was 3 feet away. He just didn't know that. And, if we only knew how close we were. So if I were to share just a brief example of this happening. So last week I had a day where I got on, I want to say it was 4 sales calls. And I had already had a slow week. And so I was coming into these calls just a little bit man, my time's got to be coming, right? There's no way I can get this many no's in a row. And I went through that day, no after no after. And I remember it was almost oh, you're supposed to stay positive, but I could not. My mind was just going down to this place of, not remembering the book that really I think sums it up the best, The Greatest Salesman in the World, where he says, a good attitude is a tactical decision to remain objective and effective regardless of the chaos. And man, is it so much harder to do that when things are going bad, when things aren't going the way you want it to. But man, does it make a difference if you can, right? It was a wake-up call for me. I was feeling bad for myself. I was, thinking of all the excuses why this isn't going to work for me or why, I need to just take time off, right? You don't have to like the process, but you do have to be able to keep your mind in a good attitude. Because if you get into a bad attitude, things just spiral down the other way. In the book, I remember him talking about every day is you have to greet the world with respect, right? You have to have the mentality that you're grateful and you're excited to help people. And there's a danger in negotiating with yourself. When you're really just 3 feet away, your mind starts negotiating. Maybe I should pivot. Maybe I should do something else. That is the buy-in that it takes to truly be elite in something. And I've watched Indiana these last couple of days. They're in the college football playoff, and you watch the coach and you watch the quarterback talk. He literally said, "I'm stoic. I believe in that. I'm never too high. I'm never too low. I just do the things that are necessary." And then you hear the coach. He's like, "It's just a standard. It's a standard of excellence. We do everything the right way. It doesn't matter. We do it all the right way." So my solution is kill the negotiation, double down on the fundamentals, keep doing the studying, keep improving, keep finding ways to get better, raise your standard. I always remind myself the greatest people in the world have higher standards than me. That's why they're greater than me. And we don't need to change direction. We just need to change our mindset. That's typically the answer, at least that I've found. So stop looking for gold other places. Start focusing on chopping the wood in front of you. I'm going to do the same thing because this week was a test for me, a big test. And I think we all go through those tests in life. And I'm going to continue to go through them again and again to see if I really want this and if I really want what I say I want. And I think that's God, truly testing us to see if we want what we say we want. And if we do, we'll be able to stick with it and we'll have a good mentality getting there. Hope this helped you guys. A little story for me to share with you guys, but it also helps me stay accountable this week to what I say. That's why I love these podcasts. That's why I love speaking into the mic and just letting out my emotions and how I feel. So hopefully this helped you guys. Hopefully while you're listening to this on the treadmill, walking around, working out at the gym, you're thinking to yourself, man, this hit home. I felt that way this last month. I felt stuck. I felt like, man, I haven't been moving forward. And let's kill the negotiation and double down on the fundamentals. Until next time.